Hey guys, technical with the video for you guys. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the iPhone SE second generation with the third generation, a head-to-head comparison. And the reason why we're doing this comparison is because there are so many similarities between these two devices that it's worth reviewing to know exactly if it's worth upgrading or if you're thinking of buying one versus the another. So let's get started. So the iPhone SE here is the second generation, which I have right here, was released back in April of 2020, and then 2 years later in March of 2022 the third generation came out. If you recall, there is a first generation was back released in 2016, almost 4 years later since the second generation after the second generation was released. Now between these devices there's a lot of similarities and a few differences. The first thing is the actual, if you talk about the size and the body of it, as you'll see here, body looks very much similar. They also come in the three same color shapes. So you have the product red. The only difference here on the product red I see is that the second generation is a lighter red versus darker red on the third generation here. They also come in white and the black color as well. Other thing to note is the actual weight of these devices. So if you look at the really deep down specs of it, the iPhone SE second generation weigh about 148 gram, and then the iPhone SE third generation around 144 grams, slightly like 4 grams less. It's a little bit difference, but it's so negligible you probably won't notice the difference. The body build of it again is very similar to the iPhone 8. You'll see here the speakers on the bottom, the rounded edges, and that single 12 megapixel camera, the Apple logo here. Again, if I were to give you these two devices and pretty much tell you which one is what, you probably won't be able to tell from just looking at the actual screen and the body itself here. Other thing to note about is that both of them have a 4.7-inch Retina display here, very similar resolution, 1334 by 750 pixel. They have True Tone, haptic touch, and then 625 nit of brightness on these devices. So in terms of brightness, again, same kind of display. As you would imagine, they're pretty much using probably the same display under the covers as well. Now, other thing to mention on this device is where the distinguishing factors start to come in. The first one that we see is the chipset on it. So the iPhone second generation has an A13 Bionic chip with 3 gigs of RAM, and the storage that you can get it is 128 gig and 64 gig, and of course you can also get it in 256 gig. Other thing to mention about these two phones here is that both of the iPhone SE here are very powerful devices in terms of how much they deliver. But the other thing to note about is the battery. So the battery life are slightly different. The iPhone second generation here has a battery size that's 1821, very similar to the iPhone 8 here, gives you 13 hours of video playback. The iPhone SE the third generation has a little slightly bigger battery, around a 2018 mAh, which gives you about 15 hours of video playback. So only 2-hour differences in real life scenario, depending on how much of a user you are. Both of the phones, if you're a light to medium user, should get you most of the day. If you're more on the medium to heavy user, most likely you'll need to charge it at least once for you to get through the day. Now let's really talk about the other thing on this phone that really matters, which is going to be your camera specs. So if you look at the camera here, both of the phones do have really decent camera, that 12 megapixel camera, but within that camera technology slightly has changed here. So they do take some really good HD photos, but when it comes to things like night mode, that's where the iPhone SE third generation comes in play, and deep fusion as well. So you're going to get a little bit better quality. Again, really negligible when it comes to recording, but it's something to worth a note of. You also have photographic style that's available on the iPhone SE third generation that's not available on the iPhone SE second generation. Of course, both of the phones have portrait mode, so you're not limited in terms of the portrait mode between this device. So again, both camera, again, really good, decent size actual cameras here. The other thing I want to mention is the connectivity wise. So the iPhone second generation here does not support 5G. The third generation is the only one out of the SE that started to support the 5G connectivity on the device here. And of course, lastly, we can't miss out the software update that both of these devices get. The iPhone SE here is updated to iOS 16, and of course the SE third generation also comes with iOS 16. Now, if you think about the software update, most likely the iPhone SE second generation will probably get another 2 to 3 years of update, where the SE third generation more around 3 to 4 years of major update. If Apple generally keeps their phone up to date with a major update for 5 years or so, which is probably a big selling point for these iPhones. Again, if you're considering between these two devices, if you're really looking at all the things spec wise in terms of it, there is again those minor updates that we mentioned. The other thing to look at is the price point. So the iPhone SE here was slightly more when it came out than the iPhone SE here second generation, which was started at $399, but the iPhone SE third generation starts at $429, almost $30 more. Not sure why Apple did that, but that's kind of what Apple does, increases the price of phone every year. So if you're looking for a budget-friendly phone, the second generation, you can get it pre-owned at a much cheaper cost, around probably $150 to $200, depending on the storage you get from sites like Amazon, eBay, which I'll leave some link in the description section if you want to check it out. But if you want to get the third generation because you want to get the latest and the most up-to-date one, you can probably get it from Apple's website directly. They are selling it, but they're not selling the second generation. Again, both of the devices are a great device for basic simple stuff like calling, texting, even browsing, and most of the apps will work without any issue. So you don't have to have any worry that these will bail out on you because they do have massive power. Don't let that small size fool you. So that's our review of it. I hope this video was helpful in making your determination and at least understanding the difference between the iPhone SE first generation and the second generation. And I hope you guys hit that like and subscribe button and leave a comment on what your thoughts are if you used either of these devices, and if you think the fourth generation of SE will come out anytime soon and what features you would like in it. Comment in the comment section. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.